Mobil Won the Grid powers up today on the drag strip in Florida as Team Kalitta do battle in the NHRA. With dragsters reaching speeds of close to 340 miles per hour in under 4 seconds, the NHRA is a race series like no other. Top fuel champions Kalitta Motorsports kicked off a nitro-methane-powered season at the Gatornationals.
It's a great place to start. It's on the East Coast, right? It's Florida, it's nice weather, and it's a destination race, so already at 9:30 on a Friday morning, this place is packed, and that's pretty exciting.
Running 2 top fuel dragsters and a funny car, Kalitta were hoping to start the 20-race campaign in winning form and continue the momentum of their top fuel title success last season.
We're hoping to be standing with the crown again, the championship at the end of the year, but we have a long road to get there. We did it last year and got the same guys. It's just a matter of being the hungriest guy out there and having a great team behind you.
That's always the goal, come out swinging and win right away. I mean, that's the name of the game. We're always out here hunting those Wally trophies, and it's a long season. You want to win every race you show up to, but ideally you want to make it really count those last 6 races of the year.
I think there's, 10, 11 good teams, quality teams that have a chance to win a race at any time. So it'll be a fight to the finish for sure.
We've taken the Sean Langdon car and made it identical to Doug's car, right? We tested well in the beginning of the season, made some really, really good runs. We've made some changes with JR's car as well, try to get it back in the winner's circle more than just one time a year. So I think we're well prepared for 2024.
Preparation is key in the NHRA. Led by legendary tuner Alan Johnson, the Kalitta crews tear down and rebuild the 11,000 horsepower engines between every run.
For those that haven't seen the crew work on the car, it's like organized chaos. 7 or 8 guys just running around this thing, and they'll come back after run and tackle it, tear the engine apart, rip the clutch out of it, put it all back together and fire it up within 40 minutes or so.
In order to completely disassemble your engine, put a new clutch on it, reassemble it, start it, and be ready to run, your team has to be well instructed, well versed, well practiced, and that's what it takes to win a championship.
Typically we'll run 2 qualifying runs and we'll be out here all day. Really, with our car, is the consistency, each guy putting it together and doing their job exactly the same. So Alan and Max Savage, they can tune that thing and understand that everything's going to be the same, and that's really important for what we do out here.
Defending champion Doug Kalitta would fall just short in his top fuel quarterfinal run, but Sean Langdon and JR Todd both made it through to their respective finals in what was a thrilling Gatornationals weekend.
TV doesn't do our sport any justice. Funny cars are like the dirtiest, nastiest kind of drag car there is out here. It makes 11, 12,000 plus horsepower. The driver sits behind the engine. You got the clutch in between your feet. When you hit the gas, there's clutch dust everywhere. You can barely see.
You'll do a burnout and get a little bit of heat in the tires. Then you'll back up and they'll place you in the tracks of where they want you to run. Again, they'll just brush off the tires and reset the idle, and then once you get staged, you're just looking for yellow to hit the gas.
We're going in a straight line at 1,000 feet, 3.8 seconds, 330 plus miles an hour. During a run, sometimes one cylinder will stop firing. When you lose that much downforce out of that exhaust, it's trying to shoot you across the track. You got to kind of counter steer that, where you might be crossing the finish line with the wheel cocked like this to go in a straight line. It's pretty crazy.
It would be a record-breaking weekend for Team Kalitta, claiming victories in both the top fuel and funny car categories. The first time they bagged a Gatornationals double.
Got the first double up for Kalitta Motorsports with us winning and JR winning, so picture perfect weekend.
At the end of the day, we doubled up with Sean, the Kalitta Air Dragster. We've been trying to do this for so long for Connie. Scott's family is here with us this weekend. Just a storybook weekend for us, for sure, at Kalitta Motorsports.
Max Verstappen leads the way in the 2024 Formula One Championship, and the month of May means Monaco, and the most iconic race in the sport.
The Monaco Grand Prix is always very hectic. You know that it's all about qualifying, which puts a lot of pressure on qualifying. Sometimes, of course, it works out a bit better than other years in terms of results, but you always try to enjoy it as much as you can. And I think also last year we really had a Monaco special, with the rain coming in, and yeah, making it really difficult to the end, because the walls, of course, are very, very close, and it's easy to make a mistake, but it's, of course, one of the races that you want to win in your career.
Monaco is an anomaly on the F1 circuit. 3.34 kilometres around the streets of the Principality, with no runoffs and no room for error. Last season, Verstappen won the race from pole after setting the fastest time in all 3 qualifying sessions.
Monaco is very difficult to say that you did the perfect lap. At least from my side, I felt like I never did the perfect lap. But a few perfect corners maybe, but not the whole lap. It's just very tough. You get into qualifying, it almost feels like you have to go over 100% in terms of what you think is possible. To really get the lap time out of it, you really have to push yourself to extreme limits in terms of clipping a barrier here and there. It makes it very exciting. Also because you know that your qualifying result is so important, because you can't normally pass around there. So yeah, all that just puts a bit more pressure on it, you know, to really try and get the most out of it in qualifying.
Oracle Red Bull Racing have 7 victories in the Principality, including the last 3. They have cemented a tradition of celebrating in a swimming pool, but as the Dutchman looks for his 3rd Monaco win, he won't necessarily be taking the plunge.
Yeah, luckily I didn't get to do that. I mean, the first time that I won was COVID, so there was no pool. Last time, we were not allowed, I think, to fill up the pool because of a shortage of water in the area. So I was like, well, that's fantastic, because the year before, there are people putting their feet in. But, you know, I remember there was a guy who took his socks off, and sometimes when you have new socks or whatever, right, the new stuff sticks around your feet. And he just put his feet in while the fluffs are still around. So the fluffs went into the water. I'm like, I'm not jumping into the pool anymore. You know, that's just not that's not great.
Success in the IMSA Championship depends on performance both behind the wheel and in pit lane. Running 2 cars in the series, GTD Pro champions Vasser Sullivan Lexus Racing employ a unique ethos in their pursuit of victory.
If you look very carefully around our guys, their laptops, our chief mechanic at the moment just underwent ankle surgery. So he's in a knee scooter, and you'll see the acronym on his knee scooter, and it's LNTC. It stands for Leave Nothing to Chance. When you're building our race car, leave nothing to chance. When you're putting the strategy together, leave nothing to chance, right? It's really all-encompassing and overarching for what we do when we attack a racetrack.
Owners Jimmy Vasser and James Sully Sullivan have introduced a special philosophy to inspire the team to better performance.
We call it the Kaizen, which is Japanese for constant betterment and constant improvement. Of course, there's some things that you do that you can't really do any better next time, but it's then about understanding what you did that made it work so well. And that's kind of come from the culture of Lexus, but it's also deep in the history of TRD.
Kaizen is something that we have learned and adopted from our partners at TRD in Japan, and that's our second North Star, LNTC and Kaizen. It's self-policing. All of us can Kaizen anything. When you get into the difference between a champion and a 2nd or 3rd place organization, it becomes very hard. But continuous and consistent improvement in our processes, you can apply to the entire organization.
The IMSA champions needed that mindset when they arrived at the Mobil 112 Hours of Sebring, having begun the season with neither of their cars finishing the Rolex 24 at Daytona.
For the Rolex 24, our Vasser Sullivan Lexus Racing team, we had a bit of a rough ride, to be honest. Mike Conway sadly was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, got caught up on an incident, was out of his hands, and completely destroyed the front end of our car.
Most teams would have just packed up after that incident, but not the 14 guys, and not here at Lexus Racing and Vasser Sullivan. They said, let's fix it, let's get it back out for points. They got as many laps back as they could, and then they saved it for another day. On the 12 side, it's a rough go when you race for 23 hours and then have the problem that we did, but the boys didn't hesitate. I went to the shop 3 days after Daytona. They already had this 12 car completely back together and ready to go test again.
The turnaround from the challenges of Daytona to putting the 14 car on pole at Sebring was another success that the whole team got to share in the garage.
So we have a success wall, and it is all of our successes from the inception of the program until now. So our poles, our wins, but the one thing that you notice about it is that the fans never see it. It points inwards. The whole concept of it is that we're human beings, right? We're not robots, which means we have emotions. So that anytime you need a reminder, pole, win, championship, it's there. It's a really special part of our chemistry. And we really had to put that to use between the Rolex after a 2 DNF and here, and I would like to say that it worked.
The success continued into the race at Sebring. It was victory for the number 14 car. That put the team's GTD Pro title defense back on track and took Lexus to the top of the manufacturer's standings.
There's not an individual here that I don't feel's at the top of their game, and as a driver it makes you give that little bit more out on the track, whether it's just that last lap dive for a win or whatever. You just know that that's going to influence everyone back in the paddock and back over the pit wall to work that bit harder the next time you go to the track. So you know, that's excellent to be a part of, and one of the reasons I love being on this Vasser Sullivan Lexus racing team.
We join Stuart Haas Racing now as NASCAR gets set to return to its roots. 3 months into the NASCAR Cup Series season, the championship breaks for the All-Star race. Last season, they headed to a racetrack not used since 1996, North Wilkesboro Speedway.
Such a unique track, the old asphalt being at play, but then some new patches that they had along with some concrete on the bottom made for an interesting kind of layout, and we all had to really search around and find the right groove to run in, but the atmosphere itself was just electric and it was a lot of fun.
North Wilkesboro has always been special to me with being a local guy. My dad's family was from the mountains, and even after it shut down, I would stop by there and walk my kids around there and take pictures and all those things. It's just always been a special place.
Steeped in the moonshine running history of the sport, the retro venue was so popular last season that they're heading back. The track has been repaved and the spectacle should be even better. For Josh Berry, who had to win the All-Star Open just to get into the main event in 2023, the trip into the North Carolina hills can't come soon enough.
It'll be exciting with the repave. I think it'll be a new era at Wilkesboro. It's going to be kind of a reset. The track's going to be super fast, but it'll be a lot of fun. I think that's one that we definitely have circled for the 2024 season.
The place was absolutely packed. It was kind of like a throwback weekend in a sense, going back to kind of what NASCAR's roots are. It was a lot of fun. The racetrack was super slick, wore out. This year they repaved it, so I don't know what to expect going into this year, but it was really cool.
It's a place that I've really enjoyed racing at now, so eager to get there, and obviously I hope it's a really racy surface, but it's certainly going to be a lot different than last year.
While the All-Star race has always been an experience for the fans, it's also a chance to win a cool $1 million.
We go into every race wanting to win, but I think that added incentive certainly emphasizes it that much more. I mean, you think about it. It'd be like you going into a room with 20 other people and knowing that you had an opportunity to leave there with $1 million. It's pretty cool.
$1 million is a lot of money, so I think it definitely ramps up the intensity a little bit, but it made for an exciting show for sure.
Last year it was Kyle Larson who scooped the money as an exclusive crowd looked on and millions more on TV. NASCAR's return to Moonshine Country will doubtless prove as popular this time as it did a year ago.
I'm super pumped for North Wilkesboro. It's going to be gripped up, it's going to be fast. It's a fun weekend. I raced a super late model at North Wilkesboro last year and hope to do it again this year. So that'll be a little midweek prep before the race weekend.
There are certain venues, Lambeau Stadium, that you want to go to and you want to see and you want to be a part of, and Wilkesboro's right there. And hopefully we can go to venues like that and kind of revive them, still have tapped into our history, but with a future aspect of the next gen car and everything we have going on. I think that's a great thing for the sport.
Last time we caught up with Jade Avedisian as she took on an ice race in Aspen, Colorado. But her day job is down the mountain on the dirt tracks where she is Queen of the Dirt Midgets and Xtreme Outlaw Series champion.
Winning a championship, you know, my first year trying with KKM was just a dream come true. You know, have 5 wins, I mean, I'm still speechless and it's months later. So for us to accomplish it the first year obviously meant a lot to us and a lot to the team.
Aged just 17, the championship win was no fluke. Avedisian was born into this sport.
My My dad worked on sprint cars growing up. I was at a dirt track at 6 months old. I was introduced very young, and then when I was 4, he bought me a quarter midget, and to be honest, I went out the first time, and I didn't really like it, but take it for granted, I was still 4, so I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So we kept it around a few more years. I tried again when I was 7, and then that was the day that I fell in love. I wanted to do this for as many years as I could.
After winning her first big race aged just 13, the Californian was marked out early on as one to watch with a focused racer mentality.
I don't feel like anything's different from me just because I'm a girl in the sport. I feel like everyone has the same goals, is just go do the best you can and go win as many races as you can. But I think the sport is going in the right place. There's so many young girls getting into racing, and maybe the little kids are seeing the girls do well or whatever the case is. But I do feel like there's more and more getting in the sport.
Competing with Keith Kunst's motorsports, Avedisian is finding the balance between racing fast and racing smart. Last season was a roller coaster of wins and spins as she learned to temper her need for speed.
My racing style is definitely high-strung, I would say. Pete from KKM always tells me, you can't give it 110% every single lap. So the day I kind of realized that was our huge turnaround point of our season. The midgets, you have to drive as hard as you possibly can every single night, but there is a fine line from going the 1% over and the 1%, the right percent. So I would say I'm pretty high-strung when I get in the car, and I just want to win.
Her true character and maturity was shown back in November 2022, when she was dramatically flipped off track by a rival at Placerville Speedway.
I was definitely pretty upset, but I knew getting out of the car, I couldn't lose my head. Obviously, I have a lot of partners on my suit and a lot of people that are behind me that I can't put their brands in a bad spot, and I certainly can't put myself in a bad spot. So I didn't really know what I was going to do walking over there, but obviously I was mad enough to walk over there, and then when I got there, I was like, well, what am I going to do? So I thought that was, the best option, and I think the fans liked it as well.
Selected for the Toyota Racing Development Program, Avedisian has the chance to take the next step and test herself on asphalt for the first time.
Now that I'm a part of Team Toyota, it's a huge opportunity for me, and obviously, none of the goals are going to change. We want to do the best we can every single weekend, but they obviously know I have no road course experience, so they've done a fantastic job to prepare me the best they can. I've been out into Arizona a few times for drivers' schools, and I've been running legend cars, go-karts in Mooresville, so I'm prepared as I can be for this huge season ahead on the road course side of things.
With an eye on Nascar in the future, Avedisian has a few Cup Series racers she admires who have come up from the dirt side of the sport like herself.
Growing up, I didn't really have a female idol. I've always kind of looked up to Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, just the people that can get in any type of car and be really good, or if not win. So I think that's super cool if I could be one of those people that, whether it's dirt or get in an asphalt car and do really well, I think having both sides instead of just being a one-car dominant is really special.
The teenage dirt midget champion has time on her side. There haven't been many women making it to the top of the NASCAR ladder, but she's certainly undeterred by the challenge.
I desire to race NASCAR on the Cup Series as a little kid. I remember when I was probably 4 or 5 watching on the couch and just always wishing if I could race on Sundays, that would be a huge goal of mine. So it's just always something I've dreamed of, and hopefully one day I can make it.
Porsche Penske's Dane Cameron has returned home to the US this season, campaigning in the IMSA Sports Car Championship. This comes after he spent the first year of the 963 hypercar program racing worldwide on unfamiliar circuits in the World Endurance Championship.
I enjoyed the challenge of doing something different. I put my hand up for it to do WEC. Having been in IMSA for more than a decade, I'm ready to go to some new tracks and take a new challenge type of thing. It's certainly different, the way the races go. The rules are completely different, so trying to make that second nature so that you're making the right decision in the right moment to achieve the best result, but also not creating penalties as well, right? You're trying to be on the limit without being over. But I had teammates with a lot of experience in that, so able to sort of rely on them. We were doing a fairly good amount of testing as well, so I was able to see a lot of these tracks. So I was pretty familiar with most everywhere except Bahrain and Fuji were the only places we didn't get to go to firsthand. But it was really cool. I enjoyed the experience to see some different stuff, a different type of racing. Ultimately, we missed a little bit on the results that we would have hoped for, but I think I'm better for overall having done it.
The 35-year-old gained experience at both Spa and Le Mans the year before in LMP2. but being part of the Le Mans centenary in the hypercar class was a memorable experience.
To do it in the top category is very special, certainly an achievement in itself just to participate in the top category there. Really proud of that. Obviously being public roads, there's no testing. You can kind of beat it to death at Daytona and all the days you can afford and feel like you're well prepared. At Le Mans, it's not the case, but there's nothing like it as well. It's absolute joy to just do every lap around that place. It feels very special, and you feel very privileged just to take part.
Much of the WEC schedule is in Europe and Asia. Just a single round in North America made 2023 a logistical challenge for Cameron.
It was hard with the family. We have 2 boys and wife living in the US, so the commute, let's say, was pretty big stretches in Europe away from everybody. So that was a challenge for sure. But yeah, you kind of learn the ways as well to deal with this on what are the good flights, what are the good airports to go through, how do I time this so I can sleep on the way over and this type of thing, deal with the jet lag as best you can. It's definitely a little nicer just to take an hour-and-a-half ride down to Daytona or Sebring than it was to go full overnight to the other side of the world. But yeah, you kind of make it work. But the wife and the boys are happy to be home a little more this year for sure.
Now back on home turf, Cameron is leading the IMSA Championship he won with Roger Penske back in 2019, thanks to the perfect homecoming, winning the Daytona 24 Hours in his Porsche 963 hypercar.
It was huge for me. I've been in IMSA and been in sports cars in the US for a long time. Had a lot of great success in a lot of different categories and championships, but to win at Daytona was eluding me for a long time, for nearly 15 years. So it was a really nice way to come back and just sort of check that box in a way. It was really rewarding, really satisfying. And now we can kind of carry on into the rest of the year and get back to work on winning the championship.
Next time, we ride with Red Bull KTM and meet NHRA racer Leah Pruitt. See you then on Mobil 1 The Grid.